Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. I am Mike B, and today we're going to be talking about something that again has been asked in the comments more than once. So I'm just going to make an entire video on it because it did get brought up in another video that I made a few years ago about cycling bolts faster, using a couple techniques. And that is the topic of, is it okay to dry fire military surplus firearms? In this video, I'm not going to be giving you advice. This is not advice. This is just what I've come to the conclusion of and how I practice it. And I'm going to tell you a few personal stories about it. And just using some kind of common sense and deductive reasoning and learning a little bit of history about military surplus rifles and how they were used. So I'm going to start out by issuing a trigger warning, pun intended, for all of you clowns out there who, for whatever reason, your own life is so out of control that you cannot handle somebody on the internet dry firing a firearm. None of these weapons have been safety checked at all. I'm just kind of rolling the dice on this one. So we'll start out with that. We'll move on here to the 1917. Maybe I should just stop looking at the chambers out of habit just to roll the dice. Ooh, did you hear that ND? Yeah, it popped off right in here. Look at this. So this is what dry firing is. If you don't know what dry firing is, it's when you don't have snap caps or around in the chamber so the firing pin doesn't actually impact anything. Oh, look at this guy. Yeah, that's a nice trigger on that one. Look at this. Nice Siamese Mauser. If only I could get ammo for it, right? Yeah, we're just gonna go through and do a couple more dry fires. We'll save it. Oh, it's got a pistol in there. It's got a Walther P38, World War II. I haven't safety checked it, of course. Yep, another nice ND. Yeah, getting right in there, getting those dry fires in. All right, so for those of you who I mentioned earlier, you probably already exited out of this video, left a scathing comment and said, I'm unsubbing or I'm never looking at you again. All right, now let's get to the serious part. So dry firing, what I've come to the conclusion of is in most training doctrines, as far as drill and ceremony go, even to this day, well, even to when I was in the military about 12 years ago, Jesus, it's starting to feel old. I thought I was younger than that. Anyway, yeah, so when I went through basic training in 2008, we were still doing drill and ceremony, and we still, for inspection arms and for other purposes of training, like doing diamond washer drills. If you guys were in the military, you know probably what those are for basic rifle marksmanship. You dry fire your M4 or M16 or your AR platform, we'll just say, and you dry fire it repeatedly. And in the manual of arms for most militaries in the world with bolt action rifles, they're going to have something in there, even if it's just inspection arms, where the rifle comes back to them and you dry fire. You look at the chamber, you dry fire it to drop the action or drop the striker, and so that's how you store it. When you go to turn it in, the armor or whatever will look at it and also dry fire it and then ensure that it functions and then put it on the rack. Along with drill itself of practicing just your trigger squeeze and stuff like that. I don't know, different militaries had different SOPs and the way they did things over the years, but here's the thing, for the most part, these rifles did get dry fired frequently in a training environment. Maybe not so in a combat environment, but for training, that's what they were designed for. So, you've got this, and then you got your inspector, he comes back, and then you're good to go, down, right? Ah, nice Swiss rifle. Love their stuff. Anyway, so you got to kind of factor that in. Now, were these made to be dry fired 1,000 times? Is there a certain limit? Is there like a number that these things are going to fail at? I don't know. I'll tell you some stories in a little bit. We'll just go over kind of what I do. I dry fire my firearms. I don't just sit there and whatever frequently, but if I've got one that the trigger I'm not really good at out at the range, I'll sit here in mommy's basement, and I'll just sit here and I'll kind of get the feel of where it breaks and stuff like that. And that way the next time I go out to the range, I'll be a little bit more familiar with it. I have a decent amount of firearms that are different, and all of them have a different trigger on them. So dry firing helps me be able to kind of tell, like, this trigger's got a pretty rough break. It's the 2-stage trigger. It's kind of got some creep. And this is just a nice refurb 9130. And So that's one purpose I use dry firing for. Now, if you don't want to dry fire your firearms, that's great. The bottom line is, these are not your fucking firearms. Your firearms are not my fucking firearms. You are free to do whatever you want to or don't want to with your firearms, as am I. So I'm not sitting here teaching bad habits to new collectors like a lot of you old timers that probably don't even own milsurp will probably say and accuse me of doing. I'm doing what I do and what a lot of my other collector friends do as well. A certain somebody that you might be familiar with dry fires firearms all the time after inspecting them to put them in storage or to be traded or sold. So take from that what you will. I personally don't have an issue with it. It's, again, a great way to kind of see, like this one, got a lot of creep. And also, I'm not wasting a ton of ammo trying to get a hold, getting the trigger down and stuff like that, especially for this. This ammo's expensive. So, even on modern firearms, right? Definitely not safety check. Oh, another ND. That's 3 in 1 video, guys. Look at this. Look at all these holes in my wall now. Anyway, yeah, even modern firearms. Like, I'll practice the double action with, like this Beretta M92 FS. And that way, when I go out to the range, it's just a little bit better. And then you just have a little, extra pop in there. If you guys are still floating around watching this video. Anyway, we're done with that. I promise we're done dry firing. Now, we'll get to the part that might be a little bit concerning to you, and rightfully so, and it might cause you to not want to dry fire your firearms. These are personal, well, one of them is a personal experience, and the other one's just kind of a well-known thing. When I was younger, the first rifle I ever got, if you haven't been following me for that long or you're new, welcome. But it was a Japanese Type 99 Arisaka rifle, short rifle in 7.7x58 Japanese. And I could not find ammo for that thing for years. I think it was 10 years I had that thing, or no, 8 years before I actually found ammo. So what I would do is I would just dry fire it. Well, the first time I went out to actually shoot it, it didn't fire. And there was no indent on the primer of the round and everything, and I was like, what the hell? So I took it apart, and I found out that the tip of the firing pin had actually broken off. And when I initially got the rifle, the firing pin was intact. So me dry firing that, I guess it hit its limit of times being dry fired or whatever, or maybe it was just a little bit out of line, caused that firing pin to actually break, deeming the rifle non-functional. Now, I have since replaced it because it's a firing pin, it's a part, it's fairly easy to get, or it was at that point. So that can happen. Keep that in mind. And it also depends too on certain models of firearms. Like this VZ52 pistol, right? I think they're pretty cool. They're fun, they're accurate, they're pretty reliable, they've got some oomph to them. Nice roller lock system. However, for whatever reason, the Czechoslovakians decided to make cast firing pins for these. Now, cast metal is okay for certain things, but it's not, it breaks, it's brittle if it's hit a certain way or stricken a certain way. So I have heard, and I actually do know somebody who owned one of these personally, and I did see the end result of them actually, well, their firing pin actually broke at the range on a primer because he was using hard primer rounds that probably weren't designed, for use in this thing. But I've also heard of people that I know personally that said, yeah, I actually had to buy a couple extras because it did break off because I was dry firing it. So I would not advise dry firing this or the VZ50 pistol or anything like that has a cast firing pin. So there is some truth and merit to the people that are like, I don't want to dry fire my firearms. That's totally understandable. I get that completely. So yeah, but here's the thing: is you don't have to be an asshole about it. Like you don't have to scare new people into, oh my God, don't ever dry fire. If you dry fire one time, you're gonna fuck the whole thing up. That's not a good approach either. So you need to be able to kind of communicate. Well, I generally don't. It's never a good thing to be an authority on something and say, stop or don't do that. That's not good because I say so. No, just say, the way I do it, it's not really whatever, something like that. So as I'm telling you what to do and what not to do, that's kind of funny, isn't it? But no, it's not helpful for a new collector or somebody that's new to this stuff. So that's all I've got on the topic of dry firing firearms. Take from that what you will. Again, I'm not giving you advice. I'm simply stating from my own experience what I do and what has happened as a result of that. Out of the hundreds of thousands of times that I've dry fired hundreds of different rifles and pistols, that Type 99 was the only firing pin that I've ever had break on me. So there you go. All right, anyway, cool. As usual, if you made it this far, type in I made it this far, Flecktarn. We'll go with that. It's going to be a different thing in every video, so make sure you actually watch the whole way through. Don't just skip around to this part, because I don't know if you watched it or not. Anyway, so yeah, I made it this far, Flecktarn. And yeah, now we'll get to the cool part. So if you like this video and you like the rest of my content, if you're new to the channel, whatever, consider supporting the channel financially. I'm allowed to get really cool things like more guns to make cool videos on, and shooting videos. Hopefully ammo gets more available soon, but I do have some, and I can get some with crowdfunding. I can afford to do a certain amount of content funding out of pocket, you know, and I have been doing that for years. But this year I've gotten a lot more crowdfunding. It's allowed me to really expand the content, doing stuff that I've wanted to do that I haven't been able to do. So if you want to support the channel financially, there's two ways to do that. Link is in the description to my Patreon, and you can also become a YouTube channel member by hitting the join button below. $5 a month or more on either support method gets you access to my Discord server, which is really cool. We've got a lot of people in there actually, and it's a pretty fun time. We've got a lot of information that's being exchanged there, and I'm actually learning some cool stuff, so that's very interesting. And also we do like ballistic tests on helmets, body armor, and just going up to make range videos costs a lot of money nowadays. So any little bit helps of support. You know, $1 a month. Hey, that might seem like small potatoes to you, but you know, more people do that. It's a really cool thing. If you can't support the channel financially, you can still support the channel by A, liking this video, B, subscribing if you haven't already, and C, you can share this video around if you think it's worth watching, you like my content, you think other people will too. That's great. Those are great ways to support the channel, and you guys are all supporting me by just watching this video. So thanks again for watching, everybody. I really appreciate that, and we'll see you in the next video.